Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365, Seiya gets snubbed. He's not the only one. We have the All-Star insanity. Plus, would a move possibly in the National League, could it impact our dream trade target scenario? It's Magic Wand Monday. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use the code CHGO365 at sign up. It is an off day for the Cubs before they head out and play the Twins and Yankees to wrap up the unofficial first half of the season before the All-Star break. Coming off that great series win, Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo with you. Sarah running the ones and twos today. Hi to everybody in the live YouTube chat here at the all-new and all-impressive CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, like it, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a total stranger. If you haven't already, seriously, what are you doing?
Seriously.
What are you doing if you haven't subscribed already? Please. So I ask you, Cody, did this homestand, remember, it was a June, right?
Yeah.
It was a road trip. Did 6 quick games in Chicago and a homestand push the panic button away?
I mean, I was never panicked.
But do you think it did for most people? Do you think most people are back to puffy chests now and walking around? And
because half the discourse is still going to be, oh, this team still can't beat good teams, even though the Cardinals are above 500.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that the Guardians were in the ALCS last season, but they've really not been that team this year. They're a team that needs to outperform projections to actually go to have a season like they did last year. And they have one of the worst offenses in baseball, and their bullpen hasn't been nearly as good as it was last year. They're under 500. The Cubs got them at the right time. I think they've lost like 9 or 10 in a row. All right. So for me, I was never in panic mode. We were well above 500. Our down moment of the season was going 500 in June. Now, I will say that you wanted to see, coming off the road trip in Houston, you wanted to see them come play well at home against 2 teams that they're clearly better than. And they did. But the thing is they've done that all year. They've beat all the teams they should beat all season. But that doesn't take away from all the flaws that they have,
right,
too.
There were some flaws.
That doesn't mean, what I'm saying doesn't mean that there isn't concern and all this and that. The overarching point that I'm trying to make is that if you were panicked, I don't understand why. That's the point. I didn't understand why anyone would have ever panicked when the worst that we were in June was maybe 12 games over 500.
Yeah. It's been good.
They hadn't reached 12 games
nice.
over 500 in a couple.
This beats the race to 63.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. So trying to win 63.
But June was just a very telling month of if this team's going to get to a true World Series contender, a true October, deep run, they got to add starting pitching, probably could use a right-handed bat, probably need to upgrade the bench a little bit because Turner hasn't been what you hoped he'd be. And but that doesn't mean they're not good as they showed this past week.
And in all reality, even adding all those things doesn't guarantee you a deep run in baseball because baseball's a funky sport, especially when you get to the postseason. But you have to take advantage of the opportunity when it's there. We're going to talk more about the Cubs-Cardinals series because we'd like to gloat about it a little bit more.
Do we?
Yeah, we'll compare it to fireworks and some other things.
Was it my idea?
Gloating?
Yeah.
No, it actually wasn't.
I just want you to let everyone know this was not my idea.
This was not Cody. Listen, for all you people in St. Louis that are here because you have nothing else to do, this is me gloating, Not Cody.
Yeah.
Cody's gloating as a companion, not as
this was Luke Stuckmeyer's
instigator.
idea.
Okay, so let's get to the other story of the weekend, which was the All-Star reserves. Cubs were happy to have PCA and Kyle Tucker. By the way, the PCA shirt's available.
Yes.
MVP is available in our merch store, and it is electric. It's the beautiful powder blues, which have been highlighted this season. I do give the Cardinals credit for nice powder blues, but our powder blues are pretty nice too now.
Yeah, they're better.
And the MVP sign with him pointing out to the scoreboard, beautiful.
Yeah,
go get it at the merch store.
If you didn't go buy this after Friday's game, then I don't know what you were doing with your life.
Right. Or now.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's going to be good for many. The fact that it's just MVP, you could be wearing that in 10 years and it's still going to be valid.
Yeah.
At least we hope so.
We hope so.
So Cubs snubs. Before we get to like Seiya snubbed, because we all know he's snubbed and it's disgusting and it gives me an upset stomach. I have a question for you. What is Major League Baseball trying to really achieve? And what do you want as a baseball fan? Do you want the National League All-Star team to be the best players in the first half of that season? Mm-hmm. Or do you want the National League All-Star team to be the most famous, most popular players in the National League?
To me, it should be the best players, the guys who have had the best season. And this is why, like, I look at players that I grew up watching, and you know, how many All-Stars did Derek Jeter have?
I don't know.
And I'm not sitting here trying to slander Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter ended up having 3,000 hits. And
sure.
There were probably a lot of years that he deserved to go, but I'm sure there were years where he probably didn't deserve to go. But because he played for the Yankees, huge fan base, and it's a fan vote, you know what I mean? Like, he went like every year when I was a kid. To me, it should be who the best players are, but even more so to me, if we're going to let the fans vote the starters in, then we shouldn't be like the Diamondbacks shouldn't have 3 All-Stars when they're like a game or two under 500 and the Cubs having 3 All-Stars. Like it shouldn't be like every team has to have a representative. Not to say that the Diamondbacks don't deserve some. Like Suarez definitely deserves to be there. Corbin Carroll, I think he deserves to be there despite the fact that he's been hurt, right? But like I said this on the last night show, like Kyle Stowers, great young player, but the Marlins are not good, you know?
Time out, Cody. This is a slouch-free show.
Sorry, I slouched.
Stand up straight.
Standing up
We're
straight.
in Studio B.
Sorry. Anyway, the point, like, I just feel like a lot of these teams, like Hunter Goodman, like the Rockies are on pace to be the worst team ever.
Silly.
And nothing against him, but they don't deserve an All-Star. They are bad.
Yeah, Vanilla Chill says the White Sox All-Star pitcher has an ERA of 4.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Major League Baseball's trying to please both sides, okay? That's why they have the fan vote. That's where you can put in your favorite player that's not having a good season.
Yeah.
Then you have the reserves, which should be for guys that absolutely deserve it, but maybe got screwed by there being a famous player at that position that isn't really having a good season. I get that, but that's why I agree with you. If you're not going to say, if you're going to say this is about the best players, then skip the silliness about every team having to have a player.
Yeah.
And my other thing about it is,
I'd also expand the roster some too, because who cares? It's an All-Star game.
That's it too.
Yeah.
But okay, it's even the history part of it's a little weird, because is Clayton Kershaw really? He's going to get another All-Star game added to us. Like, I get it. People want to say farewell, 3,000 strikeouts, what a season. I like that part of it. I do. But I also look at it and say, well, then what's the point of some of these guys when they go into the Hall of Fame saying, I had 15 All-Star games, if really it was just the fans putting you and you stunk for the last 7?
Yeah.
Because Clayton Kershaw hasn't really been good.
Right. And he's been hurt. You know, he hasn't even pitched all of this season.
I don't know what the right answer is. All I know is the wrong answer is the guy that leads the entire league in RBIs not being in the All-Star game right now is ridiculous.
I agree.
That's where that's where you have to have, if you're going to have an asterisk for a guy that's had a good career but isn't doing anything and has been hurt part of the year this year, then you need to have a double asterisk for multiple players that deserve to be there. I get that you want to see Juan Soto play, but if your choice is adding one more outfielder to the National League, should it be Soto? Should it be Seiya? I don't know.
Soto didn't make it either.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So like now, if something happens, who's more likely to get added? Probably Juan Soto.
Yeah, just based off popularity. Well, to go on top of that, you mentioned Seiya and his league-leading RBIs. Michael Busch in all of baseball is top 5 in WRC+, weighted on base average, slugging percentage, and the most notable one that everyone kind of understands, OPS. Top 5, not just the National League, baseball. All of Major League Baseball, Michael Busch is top 5 in those categories. They both deserve to go. They both make really compelling arguments to be there. And I hope that somehow, some way, one of them at least gets to go. But you can even look at Freddie Freeman and Pete Alonso's numbers and then look at Michael Busch's and be like, wow, like, how is he not there? But fan vote is what it is. It's just to me, if you want to continue to let the fans vote and every team has to have a representative, then we need to expand these rosters. And if guys don't play, they don't play. Who cares? But just to have the recognition, to be able to put it on your resume that you were an all-star, it does mean something for a lot of guys, especially when it comes to how much money they're making too.
If you're trying to highlight your greatest players and your product to the world, why would you keep limiting it? I don't really have a problem with the Kershaw thing. I think he should be there, but I think Seiya should be there too.
Yeah.
So I would just expand the rosters, period. Yeah. Like that's the simple answer for me. But maybe Major League Baseball is actually getting this right. Yeah. Why? Because we're sitting here on an off day
talking about it.
Yeah. And what other sport has this kind of rabid fan base being mad? Like, did you ever care that Zach LaVine didn't make an All-Star? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Seriously,
well, he
who
did
cares?
make an All-Star.
I know, but I'm saying like on a particular one. Or did you ever get mad that they didn't get a third All-Star? Like, none of it matters.
Right.
Because those games are boring and they're not the same sport.
Yeah, no one actually
Where baseball's
cares.
pretty close to being a regular Major League Baseball game.
Yeah.
Just with more pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, the All-Star game, no one actually cares about the game itself. It's more about the recognition. It's more about players being recognized for their great seasons that they're having.
I do care about it in baseball.
Yeah.
I never want to see the American League win.
Right.
Ever.
But, I don't mind that Clayton Kershaw is there, like you said, because, remember, like, what Jordan went his very last year.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan is who I'm talking about. Like, it's,
Yeah, Kershaw's not Jordan, but he's a Hall of Famer.
Right. Well, the thing about the legend pick or whatever, like, I don't mind Major League Baseball wanting to give the legends of the game a highlight. And let's just be honest about it. Clayton Kershaw is one of the greatest pitchers of the last 15 years.
Agreed.
He lost to Kyle Hendricks in Game 6 of the 2016 NLCS. Never forget. But he's still one of the greatest pitchers that we will ever see. And he deserves, in my opinion, he deserves this kind of recognition. And whether he goes to this or not, no one's going to remember that he, the however many other All-Star appearances he had. He has plenty of them. So I don't really care that you're adding one more onto the resume. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
So I don't mind that, but expanding the rosters, or it's either expanding the rosters or taking away the every team getting a representative. Because, like I said, no offense to our guys at DMVR and their happiness about Hunter Goodman, but the Rockies are on pace to be one of the worst teams. No, not one of the worst baseball team ever. They do not deserve an All-Star. I'm sorry.
No, when your team's that bad, you don't deserve anything.
Yeah.
What you deserve is an empty ballpark.
Yeah.
Which is what they're getting. Vaughn, looks like a Cardinals fan has chimed in. Like I said, people in St. Louis a little lacking of things to do. Says, you guys talking about the Cubs like the equivalent to the 85 Bears, LOL. No, I'm just talking about, like, I get what he's saying about Michael Busch. It's a guy that deserves it. Other guys deserve it. I'm just saying the RBI leader in all of Major League Baseball should be in there.
There are 6 position players for the Cubs. Objectively, would take my bias hat off. There are 6 position players that you can make a legitimate argument that should go to the All-Star game. And we just talked about 2 of them. And PCA and Kyle Tucker are going. They deserve to go.
All right, coming up next, we're going to gloat. Cubs-Cardinals series. Tell us your favorite Cubs-Cardinals fireworks from the weekend. But first, a word from your sponsor.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, all you got to do is sign up and use the code CHGO365. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, Luke. Win or lose. All right?
Wow, what a deal.
They got the early payout offer right now. If you had taken the Cubs last night, you would have cashed in like the 3rd inning or 4th inning. I forgot. Because all you got to do is go up by 5 runs ahead and you win instantly. You can do it with straight bets and parlay selections, all right? So again, $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose at Bet365. Sign up with the code CHGO365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be assessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your home needs a home flooring advantage, and Empire Today can deliver it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to the big box store. You wander endless aisles. They might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with that flooring might have been selling toilets and sump pumps yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring. Get precise measurements taken and have all your questions answered so there are no surprises, plus all-inclusive pricing. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners, wait for it. You can receive a $350 discount using the promo code CHGO. You heard me right. 350 bones off with the code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. Back on a Cubs off day, and we're still angry that Seiya Suzuki has been snubbed from the All-Star game. Hopefully that gets somehow corrected. But we see JR Gain. What is JR in the live YouTube chat?
He says, and I'm in St. Louis, indeed with nothing else to do, which I appreciate someone from St. Louis actually admitting.
We know it's boring. I mean, the Arch, how many times can you go up in the thing?
Hey, I always tell people to go to Ballpark Village and go to PBR and just ride the bull. That's probably the most entertaining thing to do there.
Only thing I can think of, and I've never even done it myself, is go south of St. Louis and go to Stuckmeyer Farm. Apparently relatives there. Apparently there's a huge farm. Stuckmeyer Farms is some big like farm stand, produce, kind of like Gobert's is out here in like the Barrington area where everybody goes and gets their stuff, their flowers, their...
And you have no relation?
Oh, no, I'm sure I'm related somehow. I just don't know them at all.
Okay.
I'm sure like if you connect the family tree that they are... I have relatives that are Cardinals fans, apparently.
Tough scene.
Yeah, it is tough.
Just like Alex Cooper last night. Like
if I were to go meet them, this would be the time to go meet them after the Cubs put up 28 runs in 3 days against the Cardinals. Hi, I just wanted to let you know I'm your relative, and the Cubs just scored 28 runs against the Cardinals. Love the farm.
Yeah, love the farm.
Anyway, so I was thinking, Cody, we're gonna do favorite and worst Cubs Cardinals fireworks from this weekend.
Okay.
Things that were firework worthy this weekend that were either great or bad. We're going to do that in a second, but I do want to ask you, best game. Did you enjoy Friday's Friday 120 Club where you were in person? Mm-hmm. Or if you had been in person last night, did you appreciate the 11 runs and the shutout even more than the 8 homers on Friday?
Friday was my favorite of the 2 wins.
If you're going to gloat next year, you're going to throw back the old 8 home run game.
Well, you know.
Why?
Because Miles Michaelis is a clown.
That's
Miles Michaelis is a clown, bro. Miles Michaelis, forget about what happened 2 years ago with the whole Ian Happ, like throwing at Ian Happ thing because of an accidental backswing.
We don't forget.
I definitely do not
Delmendo never forgets. Okay.
But Miles Michaelis walking to the Cardinals bullpen Friday, like walking like there to go start warming up. Mm-hmm. He was like engaging with the crowd. He was like trying to, I don't know, rile Cubs fans up. He was like, bring it on, this and that. And then he proceeded to give up 6 homers. It's just chef's kiss, okay? So yeah, that was fun because I've had a massive grudge against him for the last couple years. And on top of the fact that the Cubs broke a record for home runs in a game, Michael Busch hit 3 homers, became the first Cubs first baseman since Ernie Banks in 1963 to hit 3 homers in a game. Yeah, and PCA went yard, and he kind of had like his revenge moment after the whole dropping or forgetting how many outs there were in St. Louis. A lot of discourse on social media since that from Cardinals Nation talking about how he's overrated and this and that. And then PCA goes out there and just he had a 4-hit day and had in the first inning made a diving catch that had a 5% catch probability. He owned that game. And yeah, he had a good series overall against him. So I think he rebounded in a way to, get a little redemption. I shouldn't call it revenge. We'll just call it redemption series. And yeah, it was a beautiful Friday afternoon, July 4th.
Where were you on the 4th of July in 2025?
Yeah.
I was watching Michaelis with his dirty mustache get lit up by the Cubs in historic fashion. That's what your response will be in a couple years. Yeah. Okay, I can buy that. I can also buy that because of the bullpen failing on the second game, that just winning the series and doing it in an 11-0 fashion and having their manager have to explain it down like 10-0 on live television on ESPN was also a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and Mason Wynn having to do that interview for that entire inning. I think the Cubs put up 5 that inning that he was mic'd up.
Yeah, 4 or 5, and he was actually pretty good about it.
Yeah,
he was actually pretty good about it. All right.
I like I said last night, Mason Wynn's probably the one player on their team that I'm like, I kind of like this guy. It makes me mad that I kind of like this guy.
28 runs in 3 days. All right, fireworks. What are your favorite fireworks? Obviously, one of them is Miles Michaelis peacocking around before the game and then having to take his feathers and stuff them under his dirty mustache after the game.
Franchise record, fireworks? Most home runs given up by a Cardinal starter.
And franchise record 8 home runs for the Cubs,
yes,
which was fun to watch.
I mean, I wish they would have won on Saturday because the comeback
sweep would have been
the comeback on Saturday was fun. Like they were trailing most of that game, and then they
but that still wasn't going to be the choice for where I was saying which game did you enjoy better. It's definitely game 1 or game 3,
right?
I don't know. I know that we have somebody mentioned in the live YouTube chat already that this Alex Cooper person that I don't know. And I think we could put this. I think Alex Cooper could be. Greg says you guys should have Alex Cooper as a guest. Matthew Gregory, our guy, says Alex Cooper was brutal last night. I would say Alex Cooper is the firework that blows somebody's fingers off. That sometimes fireworks are great, sometimes they're not, and you leave with 2 digits on your hand.
Yeah,
that's what that was. I finally watched it, and it was very typical. It wasn't that the singing was horrible. It was
the singing was terrible.
The singing was sarcastic.
Yeah.
And then also typical look at me.
Yeah.
Which drives me crazy.
Yeah. So Michael Cerami from Bleacher Nation put up a great let's just call it an article. I know it's considered a blog, but we'll just call it an article.
Whatever. Yeah.
He put up a great post today on their website about how the Cubs handle the 7th inning stretch. And I completely agreed with what he was saying because he wasn't necessarily mad completely at how Alex Cooper did it. Like he did acknowledge that it wasn't like it just wasn't what we traditionally see. And personally, not his cup of tea, not my cup of tea either. The problem here is that the Cubs continuously run out these random people. Paulie D on July 4th. Yeah, I grew up watching Jersey Shore and lost brain cells from watching that shit. Okay, like he's not a Cubs fan though. He was probably there because I think he performed at Tout like that night or over the weekend. Whatever. The point is that the 7th inning stretch, doing the rendition of the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley Field is a tradition. It is a thing that they've been doing for years and years and years. And to me, and I think to you, and I think most people in this YouTube chat, it should be people who have ties to the Chicago Cubs, whether as they're famous people known as Cubs fans, or
Chicago
if they're from
native.
Chicago and they like the Cubs, whatever, like
Bears player.
and if you don't have someone for that particular day, just put Harry Carey or Ernie Banks
Which
or whoever
they
on
have
the
done.
board.
That has been
They
an
have.
improvement. But this would have been a case for, I don't care what podcast or whatever this person has. They're not a Cubs fan. They're going to make a mockery of the whole thing.
Yes.
And let's just move on. So
Right. That was kind of the point of the whole, like what Cerami's post was about how it shouldn't just be these random people. You know, I don't necessarily mind that Alvin Kamara did it on Saturday either, because I think him and Justin Steele have some form of a relationship because Steele is a Saints fan. I would guess. I don't really know. I think maybe he had something to do with the NASCAR street race over the weekend too. So whatever. And he didn't do the stretch. He just threw out a first pitch. But to me, if you're going to do the stretch, you either have to be a former Cub or a fan that likes the Cubs or someone from Chicago, because these random celebrities that come in here and don't know what they're doing, it just looks bad, dude.
yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that annoyed me about the Alex Cooper thing, and I'm probably one of the few people in this office that is not a female that knows who she is. Like, what she did, it was not surprising how she did it. The whole singing, like seen videos of her doing that exact voice, like that's her bit.
Okay.
But she she didn't understand that, hey, you should probably face the crowd, and like, you know, the Cubs should have talked to her or something.
Maybe she didn't listen.
Yeah, maybe maybe she did her own thing. And then she had like the backup dancers, right? Like it was not good.
De La Cruz says she was a cup of bile. Craig Brindle says, did Ditka do a better job? No, but he was Ditka, who was famous in Chicago. So, like, people forgive Ditka for being horrible because you could see that Ditka would never want to do it, was talked into it, and it was like, was it bad? Yes. But it was Ditka.
Right.
Okay?
So
this person has no connection to anything other than a lot of podcast listeners.
She did the stretch because she had some event at Wrigley Field last night, from my understanding.
Okay.
And whatever. The Cubs invited her to do it. But the point that I'm making, and what Michael Cerami was making in that Bleacher Nation post, is the Cubs need to get back to letting people who do the stretch who actually like the Cubs.
Yes.
And if you don't have someone, just put Harry Carey on the board.
That's right, and that's fine too, because people still just enjoying singing to Harry or you know, Ron Santo doing it back. Any of those are fine.
Ernie Banks.
The Taillon news was a dud. Speaking of duds, that was bad news, right? Taillon's calf injury. Well, I don't know how serious it's going to be, but that was
happened in a bullpen.
I guess, yeah. I mean, like you had a need for pitching, and I know people don't like Taillon, but he is an innings eater, and he did have a stretch where he had like 10 quality starts and 12 appearances. So I'm not complaining about Taillon. He's actually been really good this year.
Outside of
some starts, no, yes, but like overall, for what he's asked to do as a 3 or 4 starter, he fills that role perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing and, you know, everyone kind of feeling down on him right now, a lot of people don't really care. But before this, like, last 3 starts, and to his credit, he was a lot better in his most recent start, but wasn't able to go deep, just didn't give up a ton of runs like he did the previous ones. Before these last 3 starts, he was on a heater. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And so his innings were really important because the Cubs didn't have Shota Imanaga, and you know, their offense actually
undervalued, underappreciated.
Some of his best starts came when the Cubs weren't scoring a ton of runs. They were, you know, in some little funk offensively. So he has brought them value this year. He does eat innings, like you said. Now the question is A, how long is he going to be out? B, like, who's stepping in for the time being? And C, if there was ever a time, and this is more of a statement, if there was ever a time for him to go on the injured list, this is probably the best time.
At least there's the All-Star break.
Yeah. And
just time-wise, like...
Right. And we know that they're going to add pitching.
Yeah.
Not just because of the rumors, but...
Now they might need to add more, though.
Sure, I guess. But I am intrigued to see, like, what happens here with the combination of Jordan Wicks and Chris Flexen and, you know, whoever else, you know. So, that's why the Saturday loss... Like, it sucked watching Brad Keller have his worst appearance of the season, for sure. But at the same time, like, it was a bullpen day. And so you wonder, like, what would have happened if they didn't have to use the entire bullpen before Brad Keller gave up all those runs. Like, I still think Brad Keller being in that moment of the game was the right move, but it's just one of those things on when you have bullpen games and you lose, and that's how you lose, it's like it kind of reminds you like this is why starting pitching is so important.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the best firework was the 8 home runs and things like that. There were obviously some duds. I will also tell you how I became the person I don't want to become in just a second. But first, a word from our sponsors. Looking to buy, sell, or trade? Maybe you just want to rip open a pack of cards. Arena Club is changing the hobby with their transparent slab packs and no-fee auctions. You got to check out these slab packs. You can rip a pack for as low as $25 and hit on a card that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. Every pack has grails that are at least 20 times the price of the pack. Arena Club's the most trusted name in the game. From their digital showroom, you can trade, sell, auction, or even retrieve your physical card from the Arena Club. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, grading, or ripping packs, Arena Club is your safest, most trusted name in the game. And if you're heading to the 45th Annual National Sports Collectors Convention, be sure to stop by the Arena Club booth. It's happening July 30th to August 3rd in Rosemont at the Convention Center. They'll have special promotions available for both new and current customers. Swing by to pick up your national-specific promo. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/CHGO and use the code CHGO.
Ask any Chicagoan what the best weekend of the summer is. 9 times out of 10, Luke, they're going to say the Windy City Smokeout. No question, all right? And guess what? It's back July 10th through the 13th. We're talking 4 full days, Luke, of country music, ice-cold drinks, and your favorite, the all-award-winning barbecue your stomach can handle, okay? Seriously, though,
rib tips.
Nothing beats an outdoor concert in July if you haven't grabbed your tickets yet. Thursday and Fridays are still available. Country's biggest stars like Bailey Zimmerman, Old Dominion, and more are going to be lighting up the stage. Don't miss out on the best weekend of the summer. Grab your Thursday and Friday tickets now at WindyCitySmokeout.com. Again, I've never gone. Can't wait. I'm going to go this year, I think.
Eat a lot of barbecue. Turn your abs into slab packs.
Hell yeah. Slab packs.
Slab packs are great. So we're going to finish up this conversation about fireworks and whatnot. I, last night, got frustrated with the ESPN broadcast.
You don't say, Luke.
And I became one of those shouters in the live YouTube chat that drive me crazy every once in a while. And although I pointed out it's difficult to talk for 3 hours without saying something's wrong, something a little wrong. Look, I just screwed up there. I was upset that the ESPN crew would say that Matthew Boyd doesn't have a good pickoff move when he leads the major leagues with 7 pickoff moves. And so I tweeted it out there. Come on, ESPN, do better than this, because, I got a little heated. Been a long, hot day. Well, David Cohn replied to me on Twitter. He said, my apologies. I said he does it with a quick move and a slide step to home. I meant not great in a sense of hanging leg kick. It was a poor statement on my part. So I forgive David Cohn.
Big of you.
I appreciate David Cohn actually owning up to the mistake, which is great.
That is big of him.
And so I replied and said, I'm sorry, I know you know more about baseball than I do. However, next time more research for some of you guys.
Yeah.
Because I still do believe that. But I do appreciate that he tried to explain what he meant. He wasn't necessarily saying bad slide step, just not a traditional good pickoff move. It's a different type of good pickoff move.
Yeah. Well, that's a good example of civil discourse.
We agreed nicely, and we both said nice things to each other.
We need more of that in our world, Luke.
And I admit I became the angry person yelling at the cloud on Twitter.
Well, your age fits the par.
That's right. That was a shot that was unnecessary. Did you hear that? He's not allowed to talk about my age because I did the training here at work. Remember that, Sarah.
Is that part of the training?
That was part of the training.
Well,
See, thank you, Sarah.
We've
not
been
allowed.
talking about Luke's age since before HR existed here at CHGO.
That's true. So you get some sort of pass on that, I guess.
Yeah.
Cody, if you did the training correctly, you would know that we had the senior training.
That's right.
I did pass.
You did
sometimes
pass?
I forget,
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
here to
admitting
remind
my
you.
mistakes, and now I'm happy to say that I work with Luke Stuckmeyer.
Anyways,
Period.
I apologize to ESPN and David Cohn for being a little spark plug last night. I was right, but I apologize for because it's not easy to talk for 3 hours.
It's like we were saying before the show, that what you just said, it kind of sounds like what Michael Scott said. It's an honor for you to be able to watch me or whatever.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
what
you just
what
said.
an honor, what a great thing this must be for you to get to meet me.
Yeah. That's essentially what you just said in a weird way.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. So coming up next now, we have 3 against the Twins. You have Shota, Horton, and Ray against the Twins, and then 3 against the Yankees. We mentioned the Taillon injury right before the break, and listen, the Taillon injury has trickle-down effects. Yes, they need 2 guys, but all the people that wanted Colin Ray to be out of the rotation and just become a swing guy
Me.
for right now,
Yeah.
Colin Ray, the good news is he was good the last time he pitched.
Yeah, so
Give him some credit.
Yeah, no, I'll give Colin Ray credit. As everyone knows, I was a massive defender of Ben Brown, and I would defend him more so because he generated more swing and miss than a lot of guys in this rotation while Shota Imanaga was out. But yeah, he would have blow-ups, and he would, unravel and give up runs and put the Cubs in position where they're not competitive, right? So I didn't. If you go back to that show, I think me and Corey did it. I said something along the lines of I'm fine with the fact that they sent him there, but we need to get this Colin Ray situation figured out. And to Colin Ray's credit, his last 2 starts since that show, he has kept the Cubs in the game, and he has been good enough. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm asking for a guy that can do that. But objectively, at the time, before these last 2 starts, he was horrific. So glad to see him be able to keep the Cubs in the game and just eat some innings. And I think Friday was impressive because the wind was blowing straight out. Miles Michaelis gave up 6 homers, and then the other guy who came in gave up 2 more.
Yeah.
All right, so the ball was flying out on Friday. Colin Ray, he didn't give up anything. He went 5 innings and didn't give up anything. So he deserves a lot of credit for that, and I will put my hand up and I will give that credit to him. So the thing now, though, is how do you replace Taillon? Because now Colin Ray's going to stay in the rotation, and Taillon's going to be out for.
You can't just do a bullpen game all the time.
Right. So you're going to need someone to step in that Taillon spot and find a way to not only eat innings, but keep you in games too. And I don't see them bringing Ben Brown back up right away, even though he was great in Iowa yesterday or over the weekend, whatever day it was. I think it's Jordan Wicks or Chris Flexen until they add pitching before the trade deadline. Whenever that is, remains to be seen.
Well,
but
Wicks was good. I liked what I saw from Wicks, so that's.
It was in a game where it was a blowout. You're up 11-0, but he didn't even give up any runs. He was clearly on some form of a pitch count because Council took him out in the 9th inning of 11-0
41.
game.
He threw 41 pitches, and
Right. So I'm curious to see how the bullpen plays out over the next, let's just call it 4 games, right? Because Flexen pitched Saturday, and Wicks pitched yesterday, and Taillon's spot would be, Thursday? Or Friday. It'd be Friday because of the off day today.
be coming up against the Yankees on Friday.
And so not only is it a key for the rest of the rotation to not get blown up over the next 4 days, but you're going to need those guys that I just mentioned, Wicks and Flexen, to be fresh. Because if you are just going to do bullpen games for, let's just say Taillon's next 2 starts, because you have his 1 start before the All-Star break, then obviously after the All-Star break for however long, until depending on whoever they add, right? So this would be a lot easier for me to calculate in my head if I just knew, if I had a crystal ball that said, the Cubs are going to add Edward Cabrera in a week, But I don't know when that's going to happen, and I don't want it to dictate the Cubs' aggressiveness on trading for a guy, but in many ways it's almost like they kind of need to get this done. And during the All-Star break, it would be ideal that they get they at least make a move for some form of an arm, because they need someone to start games in place of Taillon.
Well, it is Monday, and we usually save Magic Wand Monday for the off season because it takes forever.
Yes.
And we need show ideas, frankly. But because it is a Magic Wand Monday, I thought to look ahead. The Cardinals will be playing the Nationals this week. The Nationals just fired Rizzo, their GM, and Dave Martinez, their manager.
Yep.
And it got me to thinking of a Magic Wand Monday question. Because you said, what if they made a trade and could fill that spot sooner rather than later, so we don't have to go through this whole song and dance again? And I thought to myself, does firing your GM and manager make it more likely that the next guy that's there would say, hey, the trade deadline's here? Yeah, I can do something crazy like trade Mackenzie Gore for a bunch of top prospects. And so is it more likely, or just nothing has changed in the odds that Mackenzie Gore would get moved at this deadline? I didn't think there was any chance. Has it moved off of 0 up to
5%?
15 maybe? Can I get a 15? Can I get a 5? Can I get a 5? Can I get a 10? Can I get a 10?
I don't think it moves up to 15, but it really just depends on how this interim guy wants to proceed. It's before I go into my explanation.
Does he have the green light to even do it?
Right. Like it's such a weird time to fire your GM. The draft is in a week.
Yeah.
And they have the number 1 pick.
I know.
So forget about Mackenzie Gore or any of these other guys that they have. Like, is this guy taking over this job? Is he going to keep the job moving forward, or is he just a guy until the end of the year?
Or is this just an owner decision?
Right.
Owner's like, nah, this is who you're going to pick. I don't care who's the GM right now.
Right, yeah. Like, it's a very interesting, I'll just say that to put it nicely, a very interesting situation. I still think that the Nationals, despite how bad they've been this year, and when I say bad, I would just say disappointing. Like James Wood has been one of the best players in the league. CJ Abrams has had a bounce back season.
Credit to you for turning his life around.
Yeah, credit to me. And then Mackenzie Gore has become one of the best pitchers in the league, right? Like these were 3 pieces from the Juan Soto trade, and have worked out for the Nationals, but it hasn't led to wins,
and
right?
you're fired.
Yeah, and you got your GM fired, and Dave Martinez says that players deserve more accountability than coaching, and that gets him fired basically, right? Like, it's kind of a dumpster fire, but it's a dumpster fire that I feel like can be put out pretty quickly if done the right way. You know, they got the number 1 pick now. Dylan Cruz has been a disappointment, but he's a rookie. Like, he's young. You know, we're going through the same thing ourselves with Matt Shaw right now. So, for me, I still think it's at most a 10% shot that they would even consider trading Mackenzie Gore. And even if they did trade him, it would probably have to be some crazy haul that I don't even know if the Cubs would have the pieces that the Nationals want.
I don't know. I agree with Evan in the live YouTube chat here at the all new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. I think it cracks the door open
slightly.
Just slightly.
Yeah, like I said,
Just
5
slightly
to 10%.
Listen, when there's insanity in the neighborhood, you just need a little bit for it, the door to be open, just a little bit for the insanity to slide in.
Yeah,
that's all I want. I want someone to make a stupid decision.
Yeah,
not the Cubs.
Of all the dumb decisions the Nationals could do, trading Mackenzie Gore would be the number 1 dumb decision. I don't know why they would trade him, but this would come down to, like, if the owner has given this guy who's the new interim GM, they said, we're going to give you this chance. We'll give you a handful of years to right the ship. And maybe he wasn't high on Mackenzie Gore himself, and maybe he wants to move him while his value is as high as it is to, bring back major league talent or guys who are on the brink of debuting. Like, maybe that's it.
Or you trade a great, I don't believe this, or maybe you trade a great pitcher because pitchers are so volatile and they get hurt so often that if you can get position players back and stockpile it that way, then you go ahead and use your draft on.
Yeah. But Mike Rizzo was there for a really long time.
A long time.
And he had a great run there. I mean, he found Juan Soto and Bryce Harper and helped them win the World Series and everything. Like, I was surprised to see him fired. I'm not really surprised that Dave Martinez was fired, but to see them both fired at the same time, like, yeah, some chaos happening in DC. Ironic, right? But yeah.
Well, the Cubs pick up some ground on the Cardinals. The Brewers, meanwhile, will get ready to take on the Dodgers. I have a question about the Brewers' rotation after the break, but first, another word from our great sponsors at CHGO.
Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, Luke. They have killer last-minute deals, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed. All right? I get on the red line at Argyle, and I get off at Addison before I go to beautiful historic Wrigley Field. And I always bring up Game Time before I walk to Murphy's, see what the price is, then to compare, 15 minutes before first pitch, sometimes an hour if I want to go in a little bit earlier. But the biggest thing is the longer you wait, the best value you're going to get on your ticket. That's why Game Time is the app you want to go to, all right? They have zone deals. You save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. They'll show you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout because no one likes a bait and switch. They have panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
If you ever tried to buy a home, get a loan, or just deal with money stuff in general, it can be a lot. That's why I'm going to tell you about the Rate app. It's a game changer. You can get pre-approved for a mortgage in minutes without the need to jump through a million hoops. If you're thinking about a home equity loan or a personal loan, you can secure one in less than 15 days. The Rate app also will help you find the best homeowners and auto insurance. The whole thing is powered by AI, so you know it's smart and will save you money. Something unexpected, they've also added 800 free wellness videos, stuff like meditation, breathing exercises, stretching. So download the Rate app today to get started. Enter Rate's CHGO Summertime Sweepstakes. Rate and CHGO hooking you up with some great tickets to the Cubs Sox Crosstown and the Rate Field. That's the 26th. All food and drinks included. Download the Rate app at allchgo.com/rate. That's allchgo.com/rate. Cubs off day. Cubs just took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. Now they get ready to hit the road where they will play 3 games against the Twins and 3 against the Yankees. We have a couple of Toyota Super Chats here. First, Siebes89. One thing I don't think has enough attention is the catch PCA made on Friday. Thought I read somewhere that it had a 0% chance of being caught. I don't know how true that is or not since he did catch it.
I think so.
It's one of the great fireworks. We missed it in our list of fireworks we enjoyed.
I mentioned the catch, but so I believe it was 5%, a 5% catch probability, but
because everything is 5%.
Yeah, but the StatCast nerds on social media were talking about how it was 0%, but you have to round up because he caught the ball. So 5% catch probability, and it really was an insane catch because Mason Wynn hit that ball into the gap, and I immediately thought that ball was either off the wall or an easy double. And watching from left field, PCA just sprint from where he was at all the way into the gap and catch that ball. In many ways, he made it look easy, but at the same time, it was just so incredible. Crowd chanting his name afterwards. This city loves him. He also had a great catch last night too.
It reminds me of when I tell you, and the chat agrees, that I'm never wrong. There's a 0% chance that I'm wrong, but there's a 5% chance that I might not be right.
There you go.
That's how you work those numbers.
That's essentially how it is.
Those are the Stucky numbers.
Yeah.
Those are dumb metrics if you want to talk about it.
I think there's a great Twitter account out there called the Warmonger. That's the account's name. Corey and Brennan have retweeted it a couple times, and it's if you're into catch probability, he does tweet a lot of videos of PCA catches. It's the only reason that I pay attention to it because I don't really care about anyone else. I'm looking for propaganda that's going to push PCA being the best defensive outfielder in all of baseball, and he does that. Okay, so I read something like that too. But I think the one he had that Contreras hit to the wall last night, that was 10% catch probability.
He makes unbelievable. I mean, we knew that was going to be part of his game, the great defense.
Yeah.
But it seems like it just keeps getting better. And then all the other stuff has just been the offense and the power have been incredible.
Yeah.
Craig Brindle with a Toyota Super Chat. Beer bat chug, because he's saying because you didn't do a beer bat chug from home last night because you didn't have a beer in the fridge, should you be doing one on the off day to celebrate a series win? We didn't do one for a series win. We didn't do one for a win against the Cardinals, Cody. And there's 10 minutes left in the show. I don't know how much, what it would take to go over there and pour one, but
I can get our intern to grab us a beer for us.
Intern, that's right.
We have 2 interns at CHGO.
Craig has already predicted 10.69.
The thing is that I'm not feeling the greatest today.
You don't feel like doing it.
It's okay.
No, he's not
It's
doing it.
not even 5 o'clock yet.
Can I
Don't
if
listen.
they win?
It's not
if they
even
win,
1 o'clock.
If they
Or
win
is it 1
tomorrow,
o'clock
can
now?
I do
Yeah, it's
2?
1 now.
If they win tomorrow, can I do 2?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll do 2
That's
tomorrow if
acceptable.
they win.
Luke and I are like,
You
yup.
can retroactively go back, just like the injured list. You can retroactively put yourself on the injured list today and say.
I say this because it's 1:21 in the afternoon on Monday, and I spent
After 4th of July.
after 4th of
Yeah.
July weekend.
Yeah.
And so
We're gonna skip that then.
and I really didn't have any beer at the house last night.
Although,
So-
like at this, what's the Cooper's name again?
Alex Cooper.
Alex Cooper's loving all this attention because there's no bad attention when you're podcasting and interneting. And again, if Cody were to feel an upset stomach and hurl, I think our numbers would go up.
I don't know if our numbers would go up, but maybe this one particular video on YouTube would go up.
That's possible.
But I don't know if that means our numbers as a show would go up. And I would probably become a meme.
Vanilla Chill says, okay, that's all right if you do 2. Pat says, have the interns do the bat chugs.
Oh, I
I
kinda
think
like
we could
that.
get in trouble for that. That seems like a danger zone.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
I think we're going to skip that. Mom and Dad
So
might
that sounds
not
like
love it as
something we
much.
would have tried to do in college. If you know what I mean.
Listen, we've always encouraged the people in the chat to do one at home and record it and send it out to us on Twitter. We haven't seen enough of those, so that's just a possibility. Michael Thiel says, GM, president of baseball ops, usually has very little to do with the draft. They focus on MLB. Teams usually have a scouting director that runs the draft. Okay.
That's true. But at the end of the day, like the guy at the top is what, who is running most of the stuff.
Again,
but,
it still
but
seems like an odd
I
time.
do in general, Michael does have a good point. Dan Kantrovich is running all of the scouting and doing most of the draft for the Cubs. So I don't know how the organization works for the Nationals. It's just very weird at a time to do that a week before the draft. Whenever to fire the guy at the very top of your front office.
Conspiracy theory. Maybe Rizzo went to the owner and said one of 2 things. I'm not trading Mackenzie Gore. And the owner said, well, then you're not our GM. Or Rizzo went to the owner and said, I'm trading Mackenzie Gore because we can reload right now with as desperate some of these teams are, and we can have a super team with all the prospects we're going to get and all the young players we have now. We reset for 2 years, and we're instantly in this mix. And the owner might have said, you are not trading Mackenzie Gore, and you are fired. Conspiracy theory, just throwing it out there.
A little tinfoil hat.
It all revolves around the possibility that maybe Mackenzie Gore is available. I don't know if that's true or not.
I will say, as far as a Nationals pitcher that was for sure going to be traded, Michael Soroka is a guy that, I believe he's a rental, and he would be a good depth option, I think. I know he's got a 5.40 earn run average right now, but I think he's had a couple rough starts, but overall has been pretty solid for the Nationals this year. And again, as a depth guy, the second guy, and I don't know what the Cubs are going to do without Taillon. They got to get 2 starters. So if there was a realistic option from the Nationals, I think Soroka is the guy. But again, he would be more of like the second guy. And if you are on Bet365 like me, bet the Nationals tomorrow, because if they fire the manager, they fire the GM, that means the team is going to be ignited and they're going to beat the Cardinals tomorrow, who are not playing well right now. So I love the Nationals tomorrow.
Jedi of Chicago says, I think Luke's second conspiracy theory is more likely true than his first. I'd say they're both about 0% to 5%.
Yeah. I don't hate your conspiracy
No,
theory.
it's not the worst.
I love a good tinfoil hat. Okay. So
All right, I have a question for you. We only have 5 minutes before we go. And one thing that I wanted to mention last night, but we ran out of time, because there was a rain delay and the thing went forever, was Paul Sullivan's article about PCA, about how, before every game, the game day staff sits up in the left field corner for back in the stands a little bit, and they have a meeting, okay, and they talk about what they're going to do, where are the players' wives and girlfriends sitting, how are we doing this, all of those things, and they have a little meeting. PCA walks up, grabs the mic, and on his own says, "I just want to thank everybody, you guys." For lack of I'm not going to quote the thing exactly, but he's like, it's been hot. And you guys mean a lot. And I wanted to thank you. You're part of the family. Thanks to you, everything you do for us. Wins him over. One of the workers actually weeps. They give him an ovation, right, for coming up. And it's not the first time it's happened. Sully points out that, Ben Zobrist did it before. Patrick Wisdom had done it before. But this is a 23-year-old kid that came up, who just was voted into the All-Star game, who could have balloon head, took the time to thank the people that are working at the ballpark. So I ask this quick question to you, Sarah, as well. Do you care if your team is full of good guys?
100%. I can answer that first. Yeah, I mean,
it makes it a lot easier to cheer for them. That's for sure.
That part is true. What makes them easiest to cheer for is good.
My thing too is, these players are, to be in the position that they're in is extremely rare, and it's a very privileged, and just there's not a lot of people get to do what they get to do, and they get paid a lot of money, and they're in this world that just most people don't get to be in. And so to have them be just genuine good people, humbled people, and they still care about everything that's going around them, I think that's really important. And just what PCA did for the workers, these people, I used to work at Wrigley. I worked at Wrigley every summer for 3 years when I was in college. It's hot. There's no ACs in there. We're selling merch. The beer vendors just going up and down the stadiums. That's hard work. And without all those people, the players would not be who they are either. They would not get the experiences they get. And it's important. You have to be a good person. They said that about Matthew Boyd. They were saying on the broadcast last night, you guys talked about it, he's just a genuine good guy.
I will say I didn't cheer any less for Aroldis Chapman when he came to the Cubs and was closing out games, and he had a questionable past off the field.
For sure.
For sure, right?
For sure.
There were. I didn't know necessarily what was going on, but Addison Russell was being cheered for by a lot of people. Now, is it easier for me to cheer for PCA than it was for me to cheer for Milton Bradley? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The answer is yes. I just think in a perfect world, it's great to have a successful team, a winning team that has a lot of good guys on it. 2016 is a perfect example. That team was full of good guys like Zobrist, like Chris Bryant, Anthony, you can go down the list. A lot of good guys, a very likable group of players. It's not as fun if you have a bunch of turd burgers and you're winning.
I was just about to say that.
I would say that's true.
Yeah, it's not fun if I'm cheering for a bunch of jerks and spoiled brats. I would rather cheer for a bunch of humble, just talented men.
I think the discourse over the last couple of years before this year, where the team is good, there's been a lot of discourse I've read on social media of, the Cubs only care about bringing guys who are good in rather than just good players. And I think there has to be some middling ground there. Obviously you want good dudes. You don't want to bring in guys who are clubhouse cancers, Trevor Bauer. And then, also guys who are not good at baseball. You have to have good dudes. This is all part of the scouting process that front offices face, right? No one thought Addison Russell was going to be the bad guy that he ended up being when he was with the Cubs.
Seems to have turned his life around.
According to Instagram, I would say yes, but I'm not here to discuss if that's true or not.
Okay.
The point is that that's kind of like the front office all across baseball. They're trying to find that middling ground. Guys who are really good people who are also really good at baseball. Because no one wants the distraction that Addison Russell brought to the Cubs. And there's a reason the Reds immediately traded Aroldis Chapman when the whole thing with his whole situation happened too, right? So Yeah, of course it's a lot easier to root for a team that's good.
If Jay Cutler would have won a Super Bowl, I would have loved him.
Yeah, that's true too.
Anyways, we are back tomorrow at our normal time right after the game for a full hour after the Cubs and Twins. Hope you'll join us then. Make sure you subscribe to the new All CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. We appreciate that. And thanks for watching today's show. We know it was an early one. If you're listening in podcast form, we appreciate the positive reviews as well. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365. Until next time, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.